So you're thinking about hiking the Appalachian Trail, or maybe you know you're going to hike the Appalachian Trail. You have a start date picked out. Maybe this is the first you're doing research and you're like, where do I get started? Or maybe you just like watching content about the Appalachian Trail. No matter who you are, I want us all to do an experiment. And I think it can help future thru hikers, but also just anyone in life. So tomorrow morning, what I want you to do is wake up, go into the kitchen, get your morning beverage of choice. I'm a coffee drinker. I know since the U.S. is coffee drinkers, the Appalachian Trail is in the U.S., that'll be the number one beverage. But whatever it is, water, tea, some weird green sludge that you probably paid too much for on the internet during a commercial. Get your drink, sit down, enjoy your climate-controlled environment. When that morning urge hits you, I want everyone to walk like a king or queen into their home toilet and take a shit. And when you're sitting there, maybe you have some comfortable slippers, some warm sandals, slippers, or that nice, big, fluffy bathroom mat. I want you to look around while you're sitting on your throne and look at the toilet paper and how nice that is, and the hand soap that's waiting for you, the shower, if you can see your shower, and just take in how comfortable you are in that moment and how much you usually take this for granted. Look around. Maybe you have some Etsy things on the wall, some dumb sayings. Hopefully it's not live, love, laugh. If it is, my condolences. But I really want you to take that in. And then while you're sitting there, I want you to think about some of your worst, maybe one in particular or two in particular, worst bathroom moments of your life. Maybe you're on public transportation and you had to figure out a way you couldn't hold it, or you had to pull over on the side of the road. Or you're at a friend's house and you embarrass yourself, or you shit your pants. I don't need to go further. You guys this is something we all do daily, hopefully. And we've all experienced good and bad and just ordinary moments that we take for granted. So you're going to have those if you're hiking the trail, not just bathroom experiences, but this goes for everything. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows, but stay in the moment. And no matter how good it is, it's going to pass, and no matter how bad it is, it's going to pass. So learn from the bad times, smile, curse, do whatever you have to do to get through it, and, enjoy the little things right now if you're waiting for a thru hike that you take for granted. And this can help you stay in the moment and really enjoy life, because you don't want to have to fast forward through it. Even the bad times are learning experiences, and sometimes you look back on those bad moments and they make the best stories. So keep that in mind if you're planning a thru hike. Hopefully anyone can learn from that. So my name is Jimmy. My trail name is Wonderbro. And in 2025, I completed a thru hike of the Appalachian Trail. And I see tons of questions online. And I think people overthink this thru hike. Yes, doing all 2,200 miles is a challenge, and it is tough, and it seems like this monumental task. But I promise it's way simpler than you're making it to be if you're freaking out or nervous, or even just in the early stages of planning and you're like, I could never do this. With some exceptions, obviously, there are medical conditions, but most ordinary people, even if you're out of shape, overweight, can do this. And you don't need to know or have all this crazy gear like people think. So I want to break this down, make it as simple for anyone that's thinking about doing this. So the first thing is, I would ask you a couple of questions. The first thing is time. Make sure you have the time to do it, because it's going to take you a while. I would recommend 5 to 6 months. People take longer than 6 months for sure. And if you have the time, you can. People definitely do it in quicker than 5 months. You can do it in 4 months for sure if you're in shape and you're dedicated and you get, your trail legs in, and you can do it even quicker than that. So if you have one of those questions, like I have 111 days in between school or jobs or whatever, can it be done? Yes, but the shorter time you have, the more difficult it's going to be, and you're going to need to be in shape and just a different breed. Not a different breed, but you're going to have to do it differently, and it's going to make it harder to succeed if you have limited time. So I'm never someone to tell you no. Like if you have the time and you think you can go for it and it's 107, 112 days, then absolutely go for it. Just know it's going to make succeeding a little bit harder. I met someone on my thru hike that did it in 92 days. He had job training, and this is the date he could start. This is the date he could end. He had flights booked at the end, And he did it 92 days. But he is on that extreme end of the bell curve for how fast you can do it. He was late 20s. He was in excellent shape. He was dedicated. He had the right mindset for it. So give yourself time. Don't rush it. If you have the extra time and you don't have anything to get back to, give yourself 5 months. And if you finish in 4, so be it. You have some extra time. And you might have some extra money. That gets me to the next question is budget. Again, could you do it on an absolute dirtbag budget? Yes. And there are that 1-2% of people that do it every year. But ask yourself honestly, after spending 3, 4, 5 days to get into town, are you going to be able to consistently skip restaurant meals? Are you going to be able to consistently skip the option of staying at a hostel when you're wet and tired and you want a roof over your head? So the trail just keeps getting more expensive. In 2025, I believe I'm still working on getting the finances exactly, but the ballpark was probably around $8,000. Probably slightly above average. I did need to stay indoors a little bit more filming the trail, but I don't think it was terribly outrageous. I think plenty of people, especially the retired folks that had nothing but time and money that they saved up for, spent plenty more. Were there definitely people that, spent significantly less? Yes. But, I think the average budget now is going to be $6,000-$7,000. Maybe I'm wrong. And again, if you have $5,000 and you think you can do it and you think that's plenty, go for it. But my advice, and it's a travel proverb, is take half as much stuff and twice as much money. I know twice as much on a budget this large, you don't necessarily need to double your money, but if you have a budget and you're working right now, save an extra $1,000. We're so spoiled in the States with how much we own and how easy it is to buy things. Like if you have a couple things in your house that you haven't used, a bike laying around, a surfboard, a snowboard, and it's been years, you can always buy another one. Sell it, see if you can make an extra $1,000 before your hike. It really will help you go a long way. So I'm not going to get into the particulars of any of these. A lot of you might have specific questions, but I think I can answer all those questions without actually answering them, if that makes sense, because really this is simple. It's a hard task. You have to hike every day and it's grueling, but it's not this overwhelming thing to start. So if you have those two, you think you have a sufficient budget, sufficient time, the next thing I would say, first time I had to look at the list, is so make the plan. You're saying, yeah, I'm thinking about through hiking. I'm doing this. If it's this year or next year, pick a start date and maybe register your hike. I don't know if you can register years in advance, but if it's this year, register your hike online if you want to do that. If you don't, fine. But call people, friends, tell them you're doing it. Tell them this is the day I'm starting. Start saying I am going to through hike. And when you get, 3-4 months out, buy the plane ticket, buy the train ticket. If you're close enough and you have family members driving you, tell them this is the date we're going. Get it set in stone. Get that idea in your head. This is when we're going. And start telling yourself, I am going to do it. And if you have that doubt, like this is a crazy idea, I don't know, like, yeah, is it a break from the normal life of the absolute over comfort we have? Yes. But think about all the crazy ideas in history, right? Like, everyone flies on planes now, and a couple 100 years ago, people were like, I think we could fly. I think we can build wings, and then it crashes, and they're like, well, we just need to go faster, right? Everyone has that crazy friend. Like, ideas, I can name thousands and thousands of ideas that now we use all the time, and it started with a crazy idea. And hiking the Appalachian Trail is not that crazy. And once you get out there, you'll settle in with the crowd, and it'll just be normal life to you. And you'll look at other people going to work every day and you'll be like, man, I think they're the crazy ones. So yeah, make the plan and don't overthink it and just stick to that. All right, next thing. So you made the plan. Maybe you have no gear, maybe you have some gear, maybe you have a lot of gear, but don't overthink the gear. I'm the wrong person to ask if you're a gear junkie. I think people get too obsessed with it. If you have certain things that work, go with them if you think it can work and you can save some money. Most people that have heavy packs, it's not because their core gear, their sleeping bag, their hammock, or their tent, or their pad, or their backpack is super heavy. It's usually because they just carry an obnoxious amount of things that they don't need. And every year people get trail names like MacGyver, Rambo, Machete, because they show up with outrageous stuff. And you'll lighten your pack that way. So if you have a tent that's a little outdated, but it works and you're familiar with it, use it. And if you're thinking about buying a new piece of gear and you're not sure, and you have something, or maybe you have a buddy that you can call and say, hey, I need to borrow a piece of gear for 2 weeks. And then when I buy my own on the trail, I'll ship it back to you. And you can get down there and talk to hikers, or up there if you're doing a southbound, or anywhere in the middle of the trail. And they'll give you honest reviews. They're not trying to sell you anything. They've been using it for a couple weeks or maybe before on trips, and you'll be able to buy things on the fly and adapt. And adapting and learning is going to come up, because that's what this experience is about. Don't be afraid to try new things. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of years of DNA that we adapt and we learn, and it's really not that hard with gear either. So yeah, do your research. If you're buying something, obviously research it, but the way I view gear is if I need something, I research it for maybe a week, I buy it, and then that's what I have, and I use it, and I don't think about other things, and unless it's a major, major issue, I keep what I have. And on this hike, I brought a lot of things that I've had for some over 10 years because they worked. Could I have saved a little bit of weight by buying new stuff? Yeah, but that was extra money that I could use on whatever on the trail. So keep it simple. I'm not going to get into specifics with that. All right. So you have the plan, you have the date, you have the gear, and now I would take some time before you go to your starting point and just think about what kind of hike do you want? How important is finishing to you? Maybe you're going into this and you're like, I don't care about finishing. It's just about going out there. That's great. Then do that, and maybe you finish. Maybe you don't. Maybe you want to be a purist, meaning you want to hike every inch of the trail, every white blaze. Then do it that way, and don't let anyone else talk you out of it. And maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you're like, I'm not going to through hike, but I want to do some sections, and then I'll skip a couple 100 miles and do those sections. Like, do it that way. Do it the way you want to do it. If you want to pay hostels and services to slack pack you, meaning you carry very little weight and they keep your gear and shuttle it ahead for you, or you hike back to them, do it that way. Flip side, if you don't want to through hike, or if you don't want to slack pack and you want to carry your gear and have it be a continuous footpath with your backpack, don't let anyone shame you into it. It's like an ego thing that you're trying to prove something. I've had people do that to me, and I'm like, it's not about proving anything. It's just, I came into this hike, I wanted to carry my bag the whole way, and I wanted to go northbound, and I don't care what you say, I'm going to stick to it. So there's a lot of bullshit out there and a lot of bad opinions, and people want to tell you this is how you have to hike, and it's just tune it out. And not just opinions, but there's a lot of bad information. I've heard people tell me straight up false things, like, oh yeah, those peaks are north of you, you'll get to them tomorrow. And I was like, no, I can see them, and I went over them yesterday. They're right there. So trust yourself. Know that you're going to have a lot of good advice too, but just do what you want to do. Do the hike the way you want to do it. That doesn't mean, I'm not telling you to just go out there and, I want to do a hike and not clean up my trash. Follow etiquette. If someone tells you, hey, this is frowned upon, that's different. I'm just saying you have a lot of people just talking nonsense about, this is the correct way. So make that plan, stick to it. You're entitled to change your own plan if that's what you want to do, but don't listen. There's a lot of haters out there, and it's usually the people that haven't done a through hike or are super out of shape, and maybe they're making up for something. So yeah, just go in, stick to your plan, stick to what you want this experience to be. All right. So I think I got you through that, and don't overthink starting. There's plenty of shuttles no matter where you start. Don't make it, don't not show up to the start because you're overwhelmed. Book a flight, book a shuttle, book a place if you want to stay a night or two to get settled in before your hike, and that's it. You have it all booked, and trust me, all that anxiety that you have and overthinking in your brain will go out the window once you start walking. I would get that even during my hike. I would be 1,500 miles in, and I'd be at a hostel, and I'd be all comfortable, and I'd be like, I don't want to hike. And I would start getting this after 0 day anxiety of man, I got to go back out there again, and I'm overthinking it. And this is 3/4 of the way through. And then as soon as I walk the first mile, I was like, what was I thinking? Everything just, once you start walking and you're on trail, it's all good. All those negative thoughts will go out the window, I promise. So let's see. All right. So I think what'll help your mindset is maybe you've watched a lot of videos, maybe you've read blogs or talked to people, and you romanticize the trail. And a lot of those romantic things are real. Like you'll have an amazing view or a sunset at a shelter with people you just met, and it really is that romantic moment. Or maybe if you're still a drinker, you're at a bar, or even not a drinker, you're at a bar and you're singing karaoke with people you just met. Those things happen, and so do the low moments where you're just miserable and tired and hungry and the weather is just awful. You'll have that, but keep in mind going into this, it's going to be everyday life, and most days are just boring and work. And yeah, you enjoy the nature and the beauty, but nothing spectacular. Just like most days in your life doing whatever you're doing now, it's just normal life. And, there are extreme highs and lows, but most days are just, better than average, better than a day at work, but you're going to see the same woods, the green tunnel. Sometimes I was relieved just to go under power lines for 100 feet because it was a break from the woods and just something different. So keep that in mind. A lot of it's going to be boring, and you're going to have to get that mindset of going back to why I want to finish. Give yourself, if you are set on I want to finish this thing, give your reason why, and use that in those moments when you're bored or you're low. Just, again, going back to the bathroom. Everyone uses the bathroom. All these moments will pass, and you'll be sitting back on a couch, either as a thru hiker or not. You might take 2, 3, 4 months, however extra after you quit. If you quit, you'd be home sooner, but you're going to be back home. And if you want that challenge complete, like I did, then stick through it. So that's what I'll say. All right. So something to help you in the monotony or in the low. Give yourself little things to look forward to. And it can be as simple as hot chocolate or a candy bar at the end of the night or food that you're eating. It can be a couple days away, town food and a really cool town, but don't look too far ahead. If you start looking weeks and weeks and hundreds of miles into the future, it's just going to seem like a goal that's never coming, and you're going to be disappointed. I was guilty of that several times. So give yourself goals and things to look forward to that are in the near future. It can be a couple days away. It can be that day, but don't start looking at 500 miles in front of the trail like I did, either to get to a certain point like Devil's Backbone or get to family in New York and take a break. Like, you'll get there, but really if it's outside of 100 miles, just forget about it at that moment and try to look something inside, and definitely even shorter than that. Like, I would say give yourself something to look forward to in the next 10, 20, 30 miles to get through those bad days or just boring days, something like that. All right. So be flexible. If you're a planner, this trail is going to suck for you. I'm not like a type A at all. I'm just go with the flow. But if you're like, we got to do it this way and I got to get here for lunch, you're going to learn quickly that doesn't work. And things change, weather, your mood, your sleep. You're never going to be able to predict when you're going to get a good night of sleep, bad night of sleep. People you meet, you might come to a view or a shelter or a camp spot, and you were planning on going way further, 5, 10, 15 more miles, but you're just like, this is too good to pass up. Then stay, because you'll regret. Because, there's not that many iconic spots or moments. So then you're going to be sitting in the woods like, oh man, I could have stayed there and I could have been here tomorrow at lunch. And it goes for the other side too. Maybe you get to some shelter and you thought you were going to stay there and you're like, this place sucks. The people suck. It's bugs. There's no water. Then just keep going. Be flexible. Go with it. If you're with a group that you like and they're going into town, but you're like, oh, I got to go here, just go into town. I'm telling you, you can, even if you're on a time schedule, you can make that up on other times where there's not those opportunities. So be flexible the whole time. Plan out how far do you have to get for your resupply, buy that amount of food, and then go with it. And I promise you'll be fine. All right. So starting alone, a lot of people I see saying, I don't want to be alone out there. Keep a couple things in mind. Whether you're going southbound, northbound, even if you start at a traditional flip-flop time from Harper's Ferry, but most people start northbound. but this also goes for southbound. You're going to start with a ton of people, and you're going to start with a ton of people that, if you don't know what you're doing, are just like you, and you're going to make friends sometimes on the first day, but in the first couple weeks, where if you guys through hike that, will last a lifetime. So don't worry about being alone, because honestly, your bigger problem will be trying to find times to be alone. So don't be scared, especially if you're a beginner starting in the bubble. Pick a March date if that's what you want to do, April, especially if you think you need people to learn in the beginning. The Appalachian Trail is a very forgiving trail for beginning backpackers. You're not going into the Alaskan wilderness where a simple mistake could easily be deadly. You can get away with several mistakes on the Appalachian Trail. You're pretty close to a road. If, you didn't get enough food, usually the worst case scenarios, you're going to go a day without food. Even the 100-mile wilderness, there's roads through there, and people do, hostels and companies do food drops in there, and you're not without service the whole time. So if you ever get yourself into a jam, you can usually get yourself out pretty quick, and other people, it's not guaranteed they'll be around, but there's a good chance other people will be around. So obviously do your research on how to do things, but if you're not 100% certain, ask for advice and screen your advice on who you're asking. Ask someone that you trust, but you really can learn out there, and we're meant to learn. We're meant to adapt, so you don't have to go in being an expert and having it all dialed in. You'll figure it out as you go. And really, so I think starting alone and also not knowing much go hand in hand. You really won't be alone too often if you don't want to be. Respect people that do want to be alone, their space, but usually they'll look for a spot. And yeah, again, don't overthink this. You will figure everything out. Most people starting are going to be just like you. It's actually more uncommon to have it figured out. Sure, you're going to see someone that is finishing a Triple Crown, or maybe they're European and they've hiked over there and they have it dialed in, but there'll be more beginners like you at the start. So learn, adapt, have fun with it. We're meant to do things like this. All right. So I think I've covered most of the basic advice, but I do have one thing, because a lot of people do quit. Whether you're aware of this or not aware of this, a lot of people do quit that are attempting a thru hike pretty quickly. Like, I know there's a stat that says 25% quit if you're going northbound at Neil Gap, which is like 31 miles in, 40-ish if you did the approach trail. But the first 150 miles is really where you see people drop out. And so if you're doing this and you're planning it and you're putting in all this commitment and time and money, you have every right to quit if you're just absolutely miserable and this isn't for you. But because you put so much of an effort, I would say give yourself a minimum amount of miles, or I would like to pick a destination. I think Hot Springs is a good one. Hot Springs is 270-ish miles in. You'd have to figure out the math on a similar one going south, but it's not hard to do in 2025 with a computer. So give yourself, I'm going to stick with it for this amount of time, and if I get to this spot and I'm miserable and I hate it, I'll reassess. But don't quit within 30 or 50 miles. Like, you just put so much into this, and maybe you just need to stick through it. Maybe the first couple weeks was going to be so miserable because you are new and you're adapting. So give yourself a fallback. I would go further than Hot Springs. I would say, hey, I took X amount of time off and saved up X amount of money. I want to get to Damascus. Like, that would be my recommendation. Damascus is 70 miles. So, you can do that in, even as a beginner backpacker, definitely less than 2 months. So, and most people will probably get trail legs and do it in quicker. If you're really coming in, you can get there in a month if you're really moving. So don't just give up on something that you've planned. Stick with it. You quit, like I said, if you hate it, but give yourself some time. Don't just walk off the trail 50, 100 miles in. I think you owe it to yourself to see what you're made of. And, a month of misery is not going to kill you. And as I said, this is why that bathroom analogy, all of it will pass, and maybe you turn out that you like it. I think that's enough, and maybe now you're getting the idea of why I said I'll answer all your questions without answering them. If you came here looking for like, how do I hang my food? How much food do I get to go here? What are hostels like? Am I too old to stay at a hostel? You're definitely not too old to stay at a hostel, but you'll figure this all out along the way. You'll talk to other people. Like, just show up at Springer or at Katahdin or anywhere in between and talk to people and go with it. Don't overthink this. You have whatever you need in front of you and you'll learn. And some simple mistakes early on generally are not going to be that big of a deal. And it's a very difficult trail in terms of elevation gain and terrain, but really for backpacking the Appalachian Trail, because of how your proximity to towns and the amount of services and shuttles and all that available, you can just learn all those questions. So do your research if you have them. Try to get as much knowledge as you can. I'm not saying you can just go in ignorant, but really it's not that big of a deal. The hard part is just every day keeping yourself on track. You'll learn, and then and really the hard part will be when you get bored of all the learning, and now it just becomes, what am I going to do to entertain myself? So I hope that helped anyone out. I keep it simple, but that's really all you need. And yeah, if you have specific questions, maybe I'll do some topics in the future, but I think that will set you up for success. And yeah, if you're on the fence, go for it. It could be the time of your life. And if it's not, then you'll learn from it and you'll have some extra free time and extra budget to do something else. Thank you for watching. I think that is all you need.